afternoon, everyone. I'm Grant Cohn. We are all 49ers as Jose Sanchez, Jack Hammer, who also covers for the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. The three of us were at practice the last 2 days. So this is a show of three people who actually saw up close. That's why I invited them on. I wanted the experts with the most knowledge in the world about the 49ers on the show, and I got them. Thanks for coming on, guys. How you been?
Good. How you guys doing?
In the universe, not the world, in the universe. Don't sell us short. Come on now.
Absolutely. Okay, so Niners play tomorrow night against the Chiefs. Trey Lance is supposed to play a lot. What are your expectations for Lance in this game? Jose, why don't you go first?
I think expectations is I feel like he's going to get lit up a little bit, to be honest, because of that backup offensive line. His what did I say yesterday? I describe it like the old creaky bridge that you see in a movie or TV show where the guy takes one step, is like, maybe it's not so bad. Then 2-3 steps later, he's gone. He's in the river. So
Temple of Doom, right, Jack? Temple of Doom.
Dude, plenty of examples you can go on that. Probably some people listening, watching, have encounters this sort of bridge at some point, maybe if they hike. But yeah, I would like to see. I think we're going to see him flushed half the time. Maybe not 24/7 because they probably still are going to run it a good amount to the degree. So let's say Shanahan said 30 snaps. So I'd probably expect Lance to drop back like 10 to 12 times, and then he'll probably hand it off another 10 to 15 times. So probably, because, not like he's going to get the actually 30 or maybe even over, maybe like 27 to 33. Maybe that's the sort of range. But I think that's where we're looking at. You're going to see him flustered half the time, or flushed more than flustered. He's going to do a lot of off-script plays and maybe have some bombs in there. And he might even take a shot or two, but I feel like we're going to see him a decent amount on the run, handing it off, and having some of those physical traits that we've seen him in practice where he's rolling out and then boom, there goes that nice chunk play.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see is we're going to see really two different Trey Lances. I think we're going to see him struggle in the first quarter. Yeah. And that goes back to the fact that it's going to be the twos against the ones, depending on how much of Kansas City's backup starting unit is on the field. Yeah. So I think we're going to see some struggles in that first quarter. But then in the second quarter, I think you're going to see things kind of even out a little bit. And I think that's where you might see Lance start to become the guy that we've seen in camp, where he's able to start making plays and things like that, because he's going to probably be getting a little bit more time at that point. So it might be a situation where in that first quarter we see quite a bit of runs from the offense. Maybe kind of see them try to establish the ground game a little bit at that point, so that he's not having to be chased all over the field.
Yeah, that's a good call, Jack. I hadn't thought of that, because if they pass a lot against that first string Kansas City defense, he'll be scrambling a lot, and you'll just hope that he doesn't get hurt. It could go real bad, because what would you expect from any quarterback against a starting defense if he was missing 10 starters? That I like what you're saying. Maybe they'll just run the ball. They could probably run the ball on that defense. Although Tom Compton's going to have to play well. I'm just saying. But anyway, yeah, I think that's the expectation. Maybe the first quarter running for his life, and then playing better in the second quarter, maybe the third quarter if he gets that far. I think also that the plays they call are going to be fairly modest. Like in practice, we'll see days where they call 10 zone reads and a lot of downfield shots. Maybe they might save that for weeks 2 and 3 of the preseason. I think maybe week 1 they'll just try to get him hearing a play call for the first time and just doing all the basics so he knows that he can do it. It's been a long time since he's played. I don't know.
I think he's probably going to take command too. He's probably going to take command since he's playing with the backups and not playing with starters like Kittle, Ayuk, and all them. He's probably we're going to probably see more leadership type, getting people like you're going to see more command, more leadership out of him, like how McDaniel said a week or so ago about he's putting people in line, he's coaching them up. So I think since he's with backups, a lot lesser talents than some players who just haven't been in the system already. I think we're going to see a lot of that, maybe a lot of hand gestures, like getting them out, getting them in and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that Kyle Shanahan mentioned yesterday in the press conference about wanting to see was how he's going to be dealing with being on the field by himself, and he's got young guys around him, and is he going to be able to move everybody around and get them all in the right spots and things like that. So definitely something to keep an eye on. That first again, going back to that first quarter, we've seen a lot of read option when Lance has been in practice. Maybe not so much this week, but in weeks previously. So maybe that's what we see, kind of some of that portion of the game early on.
Okay, who are you guys eager to watch in this game other than Lance? Jack?
I'm really excited to watch the offensive linemen. I really want to see Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore. I want to see how they fare against especially early on against the Chiefs starting defense. That second unit's been kind of maligned, but I think a lot of that goes back to the fact that they have Jake Brendel and Tom Compton. Brendel in the middle and Compton out on the edge. I think they're kind of gumming up the works a little bit for him. So I really this will give us a chance to where we can really kind of drill in on just those positions and see how they are able to handle themselves.
You can have your pick of the litter of this offensive line too, and then the other part that's concerning with depth is cornerback. Because at some point, they're gonna have to. I feel like at some point this season, I'm going to bet at some point this season they're gonna have to rely on either Ambry Thomas or Diamador Lenore to step up in some capacity, because I'm still not even nowhere near set on trusting Jason Verrett to be healthy. Emmanuel Mosley, you never know if he's going to get nicked up. K'Wan Williams, again, he's always off and on. So one of these two players, someone needs to have some type of positive note, right? I mean, I know there's 2 more preseason games. They can still, correct themselves, build up some momentum, and be ready for the season. But I think Ambry Thomas, even though I haven't been there the whole time like you guys, but it sounds like he's been like a roller coaster where it's like he's on one day, he's off another day. It kind of felt like it was like how it was this week, Wednesday and Thursday. He was off one day and he was on one day. And Diamador Lenore, like, what's he really doing? I feel like he's not ready just from seeing him in the small capacity. But I think that one of these players, they need to get something out of one of these guys, some type of readiness, some type of capability where they can feel comfortable to a degree, where they can roll them out at some point. We don't know what that point is going to be. Maybe it's like mid-season, late season, but whatever it is, it behooves them to get these guys ready and hopefully show something of worth now, so there's not too much of that concern if they are going to get thrown into the fire.
Okay, the guys I'm looking at are Tavon Wilson. Is he an acceptable starter? I mean, it's hard to judge safeties in camp. He hasn't made a bunch of plays on the ball. What's he going to look like in a real game? Because that's the guy they're going to try to isolate teams. I mean, they're not going to go after Verrett and Ward. They'll target Mosley and see that he's good, and then they'll go after Wilson and see. I'm curious about him. I'm curious about Brunskill, because I don't think the plan was for him to start this season. I think they drafted a guard in round 2 to start, and I think the fact that he's not starting says more about Banks than Brunskill, so I want to see what Brunskill has. I want to see what Mack has left in the tank. I'm not sure with him. He was either pacing himself for the season or he was getting worked a little bit in one-on-ones when I saw. Although he did finish camp well. So I'm curious about Mack. And then Trey Sermon, running backs. I want to see the running backs. Sermon, Hasty. I haven't given up on Hasty. That's my new favorite player. He's the new Jeff Wilson Jr., in my opinion. Don't give up on Hasty, even though he probably won't make the team. He'll probably be on the practice squad, and he could end up playing by the end of the season and be good.
He's going to get poached.
Yeah, although I've been trying to tell the Rams, like, guys, you should sign him.
If he signs him, that's going to be sweet. How about Talanoa Hufanga, who I've come
up with that's another the safeties in
that's
general.
Yes, pretty much, because I think we've all hit it. Like, Jack started first. Offensive, I think of all the top 3 depth concerns you're looking at in just terms of who can fill in is offensive line, cornerback, safety. You can put it in any order you want. It's all valid. It's all valid because there's so much concern. What's back there, man? I mean, Tavon Wilson, even if he is capable, there's still no one behind him. I mean, Tony Jefferson, I know there's excitement. He took a year off, but I mean, he's already showing he's a little bit nicked up already. So how much can you really depend upon him? So Hufanga, another rookie that really needs to show something to at least carve a role.
Let's talk real quick about the strong safety position. I mean, the Niners either didn't understand how injured Jaquiski Tart was, or they did, and they just didn't take this position seriously. I mean, they gave Tart like $150,000. They gave Tavon Wilson $900,000. None of it guaranteed. They signed Tony Jefferson, and they drafted a safety in the round 5. They really didn't do much at safety, which is interesting. I think we all just assumed that Tart would be back, but in retrospect, his injury is extremely serious. We shouldn't have made that assumption, and the Niners shouldn't have either. This is a problem. Maybe Trey Lance can play strong until he's ready to play quarterback. Sorry, what did you say, Jack?
No, I agree with you. I don't think they knew how bad Tart's toe is. I think that there might have been a little bit of misguidance there, based off the comments that were made. They didn't, during, I don't remember which day it was. It was Tuesday or Wednesday. The question came up, but I don't think that I don't think they realized how bad it was. That it was to the extent that it was that he's still not able to go.
True. The fact that he signed an $850,000 contract tells you that he couldn't pass a physical, and that he was willing to, the Niners were willing to take a chance on him because they know him. But I still don't think he could pass a physical right now.
No.
You saw him running around, Jose.
Yeah, he got done with the sprint or a jog. He had a gimp for a few seconds, and I think, I mean, not again, I'm not gonna compare injuries to apples to apples, but like I feel like when just anytime you get an injury, you get that little gimp, like, oh, all right, it's not there, and then that's already showing proof of risk of re-injury. I feel like a little bit Tart knew where his toe was this whole time. That's why he took that vet minimum. He figured I'll just skate this year and just take something else this year. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past him. Maybe he kept that close to the chest. I wouldn't blame the 49ers too much in terms of safety because remember, Tavares Moore was there looking prime, who already had a role, tears his Achilles. So that obviously didn't help. And Tart now, especially now, they didn't realize how bad that was. So now it's like instead of having one or two depth concerns, now you have safety. It's rough.
Yeah, and like if you're talking about, hey, what could the Niners do if they freed up $15 million cap space by restructuring Jimmy Garoppolo or whatever, they could get a starting strong safety maybe in a trade. Something to think about because they could probably use one. David says Lance playing with the second team offensive line versus the first team Kansas City defense. Would Shanny really do that? What could go wrong? Would Shanny really do that?
He is doing that. He is going to do that though.
He doesn't have to tell the truth. I mean, he could say, "Oh, I didn't hear Andy Reid, and I didn't know, and I don't." I just find it hard. Like you're setting up a guy to look bad. Do you want him to look like he's not ready? Is that part of the pump and dump, like to make him look like he's not ready? It seems like a dangerous game. I don't think you play like that.
That would be very ill-advisable. I think it would be irresponsible to do that. I feel like even against Casey's too, it's a little bit irresponsible, but you would hope maybe Lance could still somewhat, if he's ready enough to elevate the talent or at least just, put the team on his back for a quarter and a half that he's been playing for or whatever. But I think there's definitely a risk factor here, whether it's against the first or the second team, because with that second unit offensive line, I feel like none of us can oversell or undersell whatever of how bad they've been. I mean, especially if it's going to be against that starting core, you're just pretty much just leaving.
You can't put Jake Brendel out there.
No,
Trey Lance.
You can't. You're going to be leaving them hanging to dry and freaking
guys
just
out
take
there
shots.
Who aren't going to make the team and ask them to block starters. I mean, Brunskill has to be the center if it's not Mac. You got to have some starters on that offensive line. No.
My biggest question on that second group is why isn't Sean Coleman out there playing right tackle? Is he not better than Tom Compton? He's the guy that's supposed to be in the swing tackle battle with Jalen Moore, but you've got him playing with the threes at right tackle. Why isn't he playing with the twos? Tom Compton was getting beat like a drum by Ryan Yarbrough yesterday, I think it was.
Yeah.
Why is he? Why are you doing that?
Yeah. That's a good question. Next time we get Kyle Shanahan, just all of us will be like, "Hey, Kyle, Tom Compton," and then you'll be like, "Yeah, follow up." What? And you'll be like, "Yeah, I don't get that."
Follow up. Huh?
Yeah, huh? All right. Yeah. I don't know. All right, let's move on. More Trey Lance. The plan is for him to play 30 snaps in this game. Do you think he'll get there? Why or why not, Jose?
No, because I feel like. Maybe we'll get there, but I'm going to say heck no. I think it's going to stop at like 22 or 23 or something like that.
Why?
Which I think because the offensive line is going to make Shanahan very paranoid and start freaking out a little bit. And he's like, you know what? I've endured a lot and this guy is scarred with quarterback injuries already. The 49er fans are scarred for quarterback injuries. That's why they don't want to let go of Jimmy Garoppolo because they keep saying, what if Lance gets hurt? Like, Lance has never had no injury past, so why are you freaking out? Oh, they're all scarred because of Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, Brett, everyone's succumbing to injuries, sustaining injuries that put them on the shelf for a while. So I think at some point you're going to see like he's going to be either, even if he isn't taking shots or too much pressure, if they're saying he's forced to run and chuck it or run and tuck it, that's already a bad sign. Like, oh God, this is not good. I can't get that much of evaluation. And now he's going to be proving us all right when we're all saying to the sides, especially you, Grant, how do you get a fair evaluation when he's behind there? I mean, he's having to do too much. I mean, at some point you can understand maybe he's thinking, maybe I want this because maybe I want to see how he fares under pressure because I've been too used to Garoppolo, who freaks out like a deer in headlights when he's under pressure. He starts tap dancing, and once the first or second read there is taken away, where does he go with it? And how Kyle Shanahan's been a guy who preaches about footwork, staying calm under pressure, knowing where to go with the ball, knowing how to maintain, the maneuvering of the pocket and where to go with it and how to play. So I just think, it's gonna not plan out the way he thinks it is. It sounds better in theory, but I think when the execution comes out, the second offensive line is really going to show how low level they are and force him to come out before those 30 snaps are close.
Good answer. Maverick, shout out Maverick. He has a good point about
Maverick.
Right. We'll see you next week, Maverick. Great to see you. All right, Jack.
I think he's going to come close to 30. If I don't see the doom and gloom. I understand the first quarter thing's going to be tough, but once they get into the second quarter, I understand the 49ers second team offensive line has struggled, but haven't we all been talking about how good the 49ers defensive line depth is?
True.
I mean, that's been one of the main topics, throughout training camp and even before training camp. And so I don't think that Kansas City's defensive line is going to be as tough as that group. So I think once the starters come off and once it's backups versus backups, that offensive line group isn't going to look nearly as bad as what we've seen throughout training camp. So I think it's going to be close to 30. The only way, I think the way it's not is if, let's say, they end the first half and he's at 27. I don't think he's going to put him back out there to start the second half, for 3 snaps. Yeah. But if he's only at like 20, 21, something like that, then definitely I think he comes out and plays the beginning of the second half to get those reps in, to get one more series.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get 30 snaps because this is a guy who played one game last year, who's 21 years old. I think he needs reps. Even if he is the best quarterback on this team, even if he gives the Niners a better chance to win than Jimmy Garoppolo, that's a low bar in my pessimistic opinion. I still think he needs as many reps as possible so he can play his best. So 30 at minimum, and if that requires him coming out for the third quarter, good. What's wrong with that? That's good. That's good experience right there, even though it's just a preseason game. So I freaking hope he gets 30 reps. And if he is playing with mostly backups against mostly starters, I hope he's handing off. I think Kyle's smart enough to handle this. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this. But I'm waiting, Kyle. I'm watching. Like this. All right. More Trey Lance. John Lynch says that Lance is pushing for the starting quarterback job. Very interesting what he said. I mean, basically came out and said he's been what we expected and better. He passed the ultimate test, which was improving his knowledge of the playbook, ability to process defenses, and his throwing mechanics in that 40-day period where he was on his own, which they feel is kind of like the ultimate test. Nothing but glowing reviews. When asked who's going to start week 1, John Lynch wouldn't say, which was a couple of weeks ago. It was like, Kyle said a couple of weeks ago it was going to be Jimmy. Now it's, well, we'll see. What do you think of this new development, Jack?
Yeah, this one jumps out to me because in the question there was nothing to do with Trey Lance. John Lynch went there on his own. The question was, is there a quarterback competition?
Yeah.
And if so, is Jimmy Garoppolo going to be the starting quarterback week 1? And he said,
right.
Well, that's up to Kyle. But it's probably Jimmy's probably number 1, but Trey's definitely pushing him.
Yeah.
And so there's no reason to even bring that up unless they're already having that conversation in the building. Correct. So what that shows is that Lance is definitely making progression. They're seeing, I think, the same things that we're seeing, and it's just a matter of him continuing to do that over the next 3 weeks. And if he goes out there and plays the way that he's played in training camp and can start improving in those little situational drills that they do and be more consistent there, he's going to get that job, and it could easily come week 1 if he really hammers it out here the next 3 weeks.
And Jack, didn't Lynch in like the first second had a pause to or something, or
yeah.
I ran like a transcription. I wasn't too sure because I
no,
didn't hear
it. The way I heard it was like, so is Jimmy Garoppolo going to start week 1? He goes, that's a good question for Kyle. Like that's a Kyle. He's the head coach. There's that little like, how do I? Yeah, that's something I'm not.
And then just unprovoked, you start teeing off about Trey Lance. So that, that's a little bit telling for sure. Like Jack said, they're definitely having some conversations about that, and that's why I think if he can make the most of the situation with those backups. He still has obviously 2 more games after this, but if you can make the most of this situation, maximize any opportunity he has, and actually wow, this guy looks really good, then my goodness, by like week 2, if he continues that again, I think it's going to be almost locked up at this point. Because personally, to me, I never thought Trey never had to beat Garoppolo. It's just he had to be almost on the same level, or even just somewhere in the ballpark where they can trust him. It was never about beating Garoppolo, so I guess you could say it was never a competition because Garoppolo's always been the same player in training camp. He's never changed. He still looks to change. Like I showed you, Grant. I read all my notes from it's the same notes I write every year about this guy.
Yeah.
But Trey Lance, though, at least when you come in, it's like even though he's playing with the 2s, he's still doing his job, and by beating him, which means he is ready for the starters. Whereas Jimmy plays against the starters, and he shows he's not ready against his own starters, which is telling as it is. So that way you can maybe say, hey, maybe they are closer neck and neck than what we really think. So that's why I think if he does push for this game, looks pretty good, especially the backup offensive line. It's like, hey, he looked good with that abysmal offensive line, didn't play with any starters. You know, the Chiefs are a relatively sound group. That's something to take away as a positive and as a huge leap of faith or a huge leap for his progression towards winning that starting job.
Yes. The way I perceive Lynch when he was saying this is like, I always think like, who are you talking to right now? I know you're talking to everyone, but who are you talking to in your mind right now? And to me, it was Don Yee, Jimmy Garoppolo's agent. Hey, Don, just wants you to know that things are a little different now. The weekly update is we don't know who's going to start week 1. And it's almost like prepping him for 2 weeks from now, which they're going to say, oh, new development, Trey starting. That's what I think people have been have taken the Niners a little too literally. Well, they said that Jimmy's going to start week 1. They keep changing their story every week. And I feel like I've figured it out. Like, they're probably going to keep Jimmy because trading him would be like a Hail Mary at this point. The pump and dump hasn't gone that well. He had an okay camp. But they could keep him as a backup. And if you keep him as a backup, like if you decide, okay, you know, we don't want to start Trey Lance week 1, but we're probably going to start him week 4 or after the bye week, well, then eventually Jimmy Garoppolo becomes way too expensive to be a backup. You can't have him. You can't put $27 million on the bench. You shouldn't even have a $27 million player to begin with. So I think what happens is if they see the writing on the wall and they're like, instead of waiting till week 3, let's just say, Jimmy, you lost now. And we gave you some warning when John Lynch went on the radio and kind of told you, you lost and you're the backup because this guy's really good. We wanted you to take a pay cut. And if you want us to cut you, you'll probably make even less from some because it's late and no one has cap space. Mm-hmm. So I think that could be what is happening, like the setup. Like, hey, we thought, but this guy's just even better than we thought. Sorry, Jimmy, nothing personal. You could definitely stay for 1 more year as a backup, but not at $27 million. Let's talk.
Hey, Grant, I bet if it starts trending that way where Lance does ball out and it's like, God, this guy has the starting lineup or the starting quarterback job in the bag. Yeah. Watch them start harping on harder with Nate Sudfeld and Josh Rosen just because they need to prep that quarterback number 2 if they're going to get Garoppolo, because who else? Not like you're going to sign someone off the street at this point, a backup quarterback.
No, I think they keep Garoppolo as a backup. I think it's trending that direction unless like Dallas gets nervous about Dak and makes a bad decision. I think most likely the Niners will be like, look, we definitely want you as a backup for 1 more year just in case, and we'll pay you good money to be a backup. We're not talking like $3 million. We'll pay you 10, 11 with bonuses if you start, more than you would make anywhere else, but not 27, dude. You lost the quarterback competition. Come on. And we gave you all the first team reps and you still lost.
He's been used to being a backup anyways.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's his character. Human Race Win says, is it Sanu and Sherfield talent or Lance's ability to elevate players? Yeah, Sanu plays a lot with Garoppolo. Sherfield, that's a good question. Is Sherfield having a great camp because he's elevated his game, he's going against bad corners, or Trey Lance has the ability to elevate talent, or all three? What do you think?
Well, you got to go back and Sherfield had a really nice catch from Garoppolo a couple days ago over the middle on a really tightly contested ball off of play action right at the beginning of team drills. So he's done it with both. He's just a guy who the more reps he gets, the better he looks, and he's a speed guy. He's going to give them everything that Mohamed Sanu can, but he's faster. Sanu's a guy who he's an underneath receiver and things like that. But Lance has elevated a lot of guys just with his ability, his desire or willingness to throw the ball, push the ball down the field. He makes people definitely look better than they might have otherwise. I mean, look what he did for River Craycraft yesterday.
Yeah. I think Sanu has always looked like Sanu, but Sherfield's case, like Jack said, like I think he's gotten a little love for Garoppolo, but it gets more amplified with Lance since he can actually take those shots, and that's where it's like, AB? Is that Antonio Brown right there? Who is that?
Yeah. Okay.
And the other thing too is not even just Sherfield and Sanu. He's elevated the game of Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel when he's been on the field with them, as far as getting the ball down the field to those guys for a change.
Remember that throw on Wednesday where it's Jimmy throws to Ayuk, completely whiffs.
Yeah.
5 seconds later, Lance, same throw, Deebo, money, nails, bullseye.
And when Deebo's on the field with Jimmy, the only way they can get the ball to Deebo is like behind the line of scrimmage or quick screens or the occasional dig. Otherwise, he's limited. And it's like, That's not Debo's limitation. Anyway, CJ Crucial says Trey Lance almost never slid in college. Is that a concern going into the season, or do you think he knows and has been working on it? He seems like the kind of kid who knows and works on things. He's 21 and is really pretty advanced with his mechanics for a guy who hasn't thrown that much. So I don't know, but I think didn't Carson Wentz have the same issue coming from the same place? Didn't they say the same thing about
many
him?
Players
might have. I don't know. And Carson Wentz got hurt in college, got hurt in the NFL. His style of play was basically predictable and bad. And Trey Lance basically is very similar. The way he runs over people like Carson Wentz did in college. The difference is Trey Lance hasn't gotten hurt. And he's 21. Carson Wentz was 24 when he came into the league. I feel like people don't realize how freaking talented Trey Lance is. Everyone loved Carson Wentz when he came out of North Dakota State with his broken arm and him being 24. Trey Lance comes out never losing, 21. People are like, I don't know.
This is because of the skipped year that recency bias usually takes over.
Wentz got hurt his last year at North Dakota State. Missed a lot of that time. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, CJ Crucial. Good question. All right. The Niners brought in Michael Kendricks for a workout. Linebacker. Veteran. Do you think they should sign him? Why or why not? Show your work.
Yes. Sign him because I think we're outside of defensive line, if you look top to bottom that defense, it's kind of funny how you go from, boy, they are enormously stacked at defensive line. Then you start to break it down. You look at, okay, corner, we covered that. Lack. Safeties officially lack. Linebacker's pretty lacking too. You know, it's just top heavy with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. And even Azeez Al-Shaair, like personally, like he's cool as a backup and I guess base defense. But other than that, I mean, he's not really someone I feel like you can feel comfortable about if any with Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner are gone. I mean, there could be worse, but outside of them, the fact that Azeez has already been out, if one of those guys are out, it already exposes all the depth, the lack of depth that's behind them, because who else is stepping up? I mean, I think I tried asking one of you guys one of the other days, like, hey, what's linebacker actually like stepping up? Grant said Marcel Harris. I'm like, I thought to myself, that's kind of a problem. That's kind of a problem. I mean, good that he's showing good box work. But I feel like that was always known.
Can I amend what I said? I wouldn't say that Marcel Harris is stepping up. I was just saying, like, if you had to pick someone,
that's not good.
It would be Marcel Harris.
That's not a good sign. That's what I'm saying. That's not a good sign about the other linebackers, which I thought, I'm like, who the hell are these other guys? Like, at some point, are they going to develop them? I mean, you can only develop so many players. That's why I think, yes, sign Michael Kendricks. He has some talent. He'd be a cool 3rd or 4th option there to build the cushion for depth, and you get a little bit of quality, a little veteran player. I mean, he's not going to cost too much. You got a little bit of cap space to splurge on. Why not? At least that way you don't have too much to worry about in terms of depth. Other than now, you just got to focus on secondary, which you hope you have Ambry Thomas and Diamador to work on, and Hufanga and safety. So sign Michael Kendricks, fill in that need.
Yeah, I'm with this. Go ahead and sign him. It's similar to the HaHa Clinton Dix signing,
right? Where
you've got guys there, but bring in another veteran, see if you can push, because Jonas Griffiths had a good camp at the Sandbacker. He's the one that's taking the starters reps now with Azeez Al-Shaair out. So get him in there, let him push him, and let's see if he can elevate him. He's either it's not going to be a high money signing if they do bring him in. So bring him in, let him compete, get the best guys out there, and then that'll let them decide it out between themselves.
I like the comparison to HaHa Clinton did. Let me try in English. I like the comparison to the HaHa Clinton Diggs signing. That was really astute. That was smart, Jack. See, I do better when I speak English. I don't know what that was. Anyway, I don't know any other languages, so I was inventing that on the fly. Michael Kendricks always seemed good. I mean, he didn't play last year. The year before, he started 14 games, played 650 snaps. I mean, who's to say he's worse than Azeez Al-Shaair? Who's to say? Why not? He probably cost him $0 guaranteed. You could bring him in. If he makes a team, give him like $900,000, and if he doesn't, give him a bus ticket to Reno or whatever. I'm just saying, yeah, great, definitely, grand, tremendous, do it.
Reno wouldn't be bad. That's a nice little. Hey, thanks. Here's Reno,
biggest little town in the world. I'm just all right. Last topic of the day. Okay, what does Brandon Ayuk potentially returning punts mean for Richie James Jr. on this team, Jack?
Yeah, I think this could be the writing on the wall for Richie James as far as him not being with the 49ers this season. He hasn't looked good in training camp. He's dropping the ball consistently, especially when Trey Lance throws it to him. And his only real job is to be a kick returner. And at this point, if you're going to have Brandon Ayuk handling those duties, there's not a need for James to be there. So I think it might mean that he's on his way out.
He said duty. Jose,
Shut the.
Sorry, I grew up watching Beavis and Butthead. It's ingrained. I'm sorry.
He said duty.
Please don't know about that, but yeah. Anyway,
I know about that.
You're not a kid. You're a grown man, Jose.
I think he's gone. I think he's gone. On another stream I do with Leo, we've talked about who's really needs an impressive training camp. He mentioned, or one of us mentioned Richie James, but either way, we're both in agreement, saying that, yeah, you have Trent. This is even before Sherfield was showing off in training camp. You got Trent Sherfield. They picked up another guy off waivers from the Rams who was a returner as well. Ayuk throwing his name for that. I think he's donezo. He's donezo a little bit to me. I think I was a year too early last year.
Kind of finished when you're donezo. There's no coming
back.
Yeah,
I think that last year I was a year too early because I thought, oh, maybe they'll try to. I don't know. John Jennings, all these other players that they thought were going to throw in, and even John Jennings himself has been stepped up as a receiver more than Richie James. So I think he's finito. He's donezo. No mo.
Ooh, that's rough.
It's
okay,
over.
Let me ask you guys. If they don't keep Richie James Jr., does that mean that you think they'll keep only 5 wide receivers, or the 6th wide receiver will be? Because I'm thinking they keep Ayuk, Samuel, Sanu, Sherfield. I think they definitely and Hurd, even though he didn't do anything. I think they're probably going to keep Hurd because he looked pretty good yesterday. So that's 5. And then James, I kind of had penciled in as number 6, not because they're going to use him. I don't think they're going to use him if he makes a team. Which is the funniest thing. Like, why even have him? But because you're afraid the Seahawks know what to do with him and you don't. Fine. So if they don't keep him, do they keep 5 or does like Craycraft make the team? Benjamin.
Probably Craycraft. Craycraft is at least he can put in special teams work.
Craycraft looked good. He had a better camp than Richie James. Let's be. Hey, maybe Craycraft makes it. River.
He did get some run with the ones a little bit yesterday. No, when I remember Garoppolo threw a nice little thread, probably his pass of the day.
You're right.
Like 10 to 15 yards. There was a conversion on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, somewhere in my notes. But I was like, wow, this is probably your throw of the day right here. Like it was right. It was literally 10 feet in front of us, like almost by the hash.
It was 3rd and 8, and he hit him over the middle. That's what put him in 1st and goal on their 1-minute drive. Mm-hmm.
So are you guys thinking he also makes his team over Richie James?
Yes,
he might. He also had the deep reception from Lance yesterday as well. He had a touchdown the day before from Sudfeld.
He's had a better camp, although Richie James. Let's just also be honest. Richie James has made plays in games, and River has not.
Well, River Craycraft was playing with.
Yeah, but what does Kyle value? Does he care about
Jimmy Jr.
Like that?
Let me just say real quick. If this were the direction the Niners want to go, all I'm going to say is, look, I feel it. I watched. River was outplayed Richie in training camp, no question. But if you cut River Craycraft, no one's picking him up.
Nope.
Unless he goes dumb or nuts, however you want to say it, in preseason. You could put him on the practice squad. Richie, I still feel like the Seahawks would pick him up. Maybe I'm wrong. I know they drafted that guy, Dwayne Eskridge. If not them, anyone with a quarterback, Arizona, Kansas City, anyone with a quarterback who can buy a little time. Because he'd be a pretty good, I think, deep threat if you have to worry about 2 other guys in the scramble drill. If he's like the other guy.
If you can give him a real chance, too. I've always felt like Richard James is a little bit capable. You just give him a little opportunity. I mean, I know
he's
Green Bay
horrible fit with Trey Lance, though. He can't handle that fastball, I'll tell you right now.
Really? That's interesting. I know. I didn't really
he
see
catches
anything
the ball like
from him.
this. He traps it. Him and Travis Benjamin can't catch this fastball, in my opinion.
My God, Travis
hands.
Benjamin. That was horrible.
I was saying bounce right off his hands. He's had a couple where she's hit him right in the hands and been gone. I think the other name that we haven't talked about is Juwan Jennings. I think it's between Craycraft and Jennings if you're looking at that sixth receiver role.
It could be Jennings too. Jennings didn't show. He missed a lot of time with COVID. Could be Jennings though. They spent a draft pick on him. Interesting. Addy says of the last 2 Niners Super Bowl teams, who would win a head-to-head matchup? We've talked about this before. 2012.
Mm-hmm.
They had a better offense. They had a hell of an offensive line in 2012. People forget that. That offensive line was maybe the best offensive line in the league. Anthony Davis.
Take 2012 with Jim Harbaugh, and he beats the living snot out of Kyle Shanahan. Sorry.
Better player, Anthony Davis or Mike McGlinchey?
Right now, Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis was better. Anthony Davis was a bully.
He
never bullied me, but he was
Never.
a bully. Never.
Oh.
Mike Upati was better than Laken Tomlinson. Joe Staley wasn't quite as good as Trent. But then again, Joe Staley was younger than current Trent Williams. Joe Staley was a hell of a player. That's very close. Closer than one might say. Jonathan Goodwin was a good player. Probably a little younger than Alex Mack. Well, Alex Mack. No, I'm just getting confused. Sorry, Addy. You got me way too confused. Let's move on. No, that was the last thing. We can just kill time. Nah, that's the end of the show, I think. I'm exhausted. It was good to see you guys. It was great to have you guys at camp, too. That was a lot of fun. That was cool.
We're all going to be there tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, we're all going to be there tomorrow night. So make sure you follow Jose and Jack Hammer on Twitter to get all the good updates. Yes.
It's going to be a party. Bring your streamers. I bring the little twirly thing as to play at soccer games. I still don't know what it's called. I feel like a failure. I don't know what it's called. My life's incomplete now.
They have at soccer games, what they're called.
It goes like this. It rattles. And everyone's like, woo! When they're at the games.
Oh, the little Grogger thing? Yeah, absolutely.
Grogger?
I don't know what you call it. Jews have those. Jews have them.
How do they do that, Jose? How does it?
Do it again one more time.
It goes.
There it is. Thanks. There it is. That's our show. Thanks for watching. We're done for the day.
There it is.
Go have a great night. It's Friday. See ya.